Yes, what is going on, America? Welcome back to the Savage Patriots. As you can see, there's only three of us today. Marlon's still out of town. Wish him well. He's probably watching somewhere in a foreign country. But yeah, we got a great topic today. It's been trending all over social media. It's about bloodbaths. You guys like bloodbaths?
Oh yeah.
God, man.
I don't want to
Every
get
time I
context,
have Taco
bro.
Bell and I go to the toilet, I have a bloodbath in there.
Yeah, me too. Matter of fact, I'm gonna take a blood bath after we're done with the show. Pig's blood.
TMI, dude.
But hey, we're gonna have a really good show. Hey, if you're watching right now, make sure you share it. Thank you for coming. Sorry about the mishap earlier. My computer and time zones and everything was messed up. That was my fault, but I corrected it. So we will see you guys on the other side. And welcome back to the other side. We went into the future, but I'd like to ask the panel. I'd like to ask my boys. When you first heard this bloodbath statement, what did you think? Like, I agree.
I thought it was Donald Trump being Donald Trump.
Yeah, I mean, did you think he meant like bloodbath literally?
No. I don't think anybody with a rational brain thought that's what he said.
Yeah. Only the smooth brains thought that. Us with a normal working brain, we didn't think he meant, a bloodbath technically. Only the people with smooth brains, and they lick windows and they like to throw baseball at each other. They thought he meant a literal bloodbath,
No, NPCs are people
Not window
that they're not necessarily window lickers. They are just non-playable characters. They have nothing going on anywhere. They have a set of lines that they have been created for, and they have to say them regardless of the situation, whether they're running into a wall or walking into nothing. They have to say the line. All right. Donald Trump, bad man, orange man, bad, orange man, bad, orange man, bad. It doesn't matter what it is. They're just going to keep repeating the line.
Yeah.
Exactly. And the media is good at what they do when it comes to targeting the uninformed, because it's all the uninformed who are just regurgitating this. They didn't watch the actual full clip. They're just taking the soundbite that the media feeds them and they run with it. You saw the same thing with Jan 6. You saw the same thing with a lot of Trump speeches. You saw it with the Mexicans across the border stuff. You saw with both sides have really good people. You see all of this. They just take a clip, they take a soundbite, they create a narrative, they push a narrative, and then the NPCs run with it. Orange man bad, trumpet,
orange man bad,
Trump tart, Colt. It's just the same stuff.
So what is it that they think a bloodbath means from their perspective? And I know it's going to be painful, but
I think they think
they know what it means.
They're thinking another insurrection. You know what I mean?
That's what they're trying to label it as.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So more punches instead of a tour? Is that what?
Yeah.
No. Okay. The best way to do that is to let them talk for themselves. Let me bring up Joe Scarborough, the TDS in chief.
Oh, yay.
TDS
in chief. Gosh.
Lord TDS.
Because anytime this man mentions Donald Trump on MSNBC, he just loses. He loses another brain cell and it just goes
well, he's losing
gone.
it. He's losing it because of his wife. Because Joe Scarborough used to be on the right.
Oh,
and his wife was a lefty. So I guess she put that witchcraft on him, and now look what it turned him into, a beta male. But here we go.
You blame the wife. Maybe he's just stupid.
Yeah, he's stupid too. But
here you go.
Obviously, he's talking about a bloodbath for America. It's laid out in the terms of it, and these idiots on Twitter, these idiots on
talking about you.
on cable news. These idiots on Sunday shows going, well, yeah, well, presidents, you know, he was talking only about the auto industry, and this is one more. It's just bullshit. Let me say that at 6:15 a.m. It's just bullshit. He knew what he was doing. We're not stupid. Americans aren't stupid. He was talking about a bloodbath. Sometimes a bloodbath means a bloodbath. And when he finishes by saying, and that's just going to be the least of it, seriously, these people may be stupid. We're not. Obviously.
Yes, you are. You are being a disingenuous asshole who knows exactly what you're saying is wrong because the basic facts do not agree with what you're saying at all. Like, period.
I mean, that's pure projection right there. When he's calling the American people stupid, he's actually calling himself stupid. He's an idiot. He uses his platform to push propaganda, to fool, to trick the uninformed. Then when the informed get on social media and every other platform to talk about the truth, he calls us idiots. Because we're not supposed to tell the truth. They are, and they've said it. They're supposed to get information.
But I'm confused though. He's so zoned in on one word. Like, wasn't there like a I don't know. Wasn't there like context behind it all?
Yes, there was.
They will never show you context. Like, here, let's look at what the national reporting from ABC was going to say about the situation.
The race for the White House. On the campaign trail, Donald Trump warning of a, quote, bloodbath if he loses the election. Tonight, his campaign and what Trump meant by that. The Biden campaign pointing to January 6th. The country and the world seeing what can happen amid dangerous rhetoric. And the moment Trump played the national anthem to honor those who are behind bars for January 6th. Here's John Carl.
Today, Donald Trump is defending comments he made at a rally in Ohio warning of a, quote, bloodbath if he doesn't win the presidential election in November. Trump made the comment as he was talking about the auto industry, vowing to impose 100% tariffs on some imported cars.
We're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole... That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it.
There's a whole other part to that clip that they're leaving out that is very important, by the way.
So they took a word out of context.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. As they always do.
There's more to it. Yeah.
Yeah. If we got any more, let's see it. But anything Donald Trump says, they're going to take it out of context. Donald Trump can talk about eating a Taco Bell burrito and he had an explosion on the toilet, and they're going to be like, Donald Trump wants to blow up America. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter because the people that watch him are low informed, low IQ voters, and they don't pay attention. They don't look for context. They don't go back and watch the tapes because they rely on the media to feed them. They're NPCs. They get downloads.
Right, and this next video, it's a bit long, but it's key to understanding the leftist psychology of what they actually see Donald Trump as, right? Like Robert Reich, where this video comes from, right, is another TDS in chief person who is like, maybe he's the undersecretary or something like that.
Well, no, he can't be anymore because what's his name? Michael Rappaport gave that title up.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So he's now the primary one.
Okay, so he's not the undersecretary of TDS. He is the secretary of TDS.
He's got to be now that Michael Rappaport's out.
Yeah, he's
okay.
Yeah,
that's exact. Okay, so here it is. I want you to. We're gonna rip this because it's funny, by the way. Because like anything Donald Trump ever does is Hitler.
Of course.
And of course, it's not gonna play.
Of course,
it happens anytime that I try to play videos like this on stream.
Trump's promise.
I'm going to be a dictator for one day.
History shows there are no one
and leave out the rest of the context of that.
Dictatorships. When democracies fall, they typically fall completely.
We're not a democracy.
In a previous video, I laid out the defining traits of fascism and how MAGA Republicans embody them. But how could Trump, or someone like him,
and I want to keep in mind also projection. Everything that this man's about to say is something you could equally apply to the left with in what they're doing.
For sure.
Yep.
Easily.
actually turn America into a fascist state? Here's how, in 5 steps. Step number 1, use threats of violence to gain.
Step
There's
1,
one.
use threats of violence to gain power. Where have we seen that one before?
I don't
Yeah.
know. There's a
Oh God.
Oh, you know what? I have a perfect video for that. I want to bring that up because it's very, very, very important.
So, chat, keep that in mind. In order to become a fascist state, there are a couple steps. The first one is use violence.
That's
So
right.
does anybody remember when Donald Trump got elected?
Oh yes. Oh, I remember this.
How do we
Everybody's
forget?
just going to do the same thing again to me. Here we go. Bring it back up.
Burning cars and smashed windows. A small group of protesters dressed in black, their faces covered, armed with hammers and bricks,
Oh yeah.
facing off with thousands of officers.
I'm so glad January 6th was so violent.
Yes.
So
It was
violent.
Very, very.
Those people deserve everything they get.
Yeah.
Because this is what happened on January 6th, right? This is what happened
Yep.
on January 6th.
Officers on
This
site,
is
many
peaceful,
in
right?
riot gear, confronting them with flashbang grenades and pepper spray. All of a sudden, the police officers started to spray pepper spray, and they got our audio technician. They're coming. See us running because they're going to throw more flashbangs. The chaotic scene just blocks outside the secure area of the inauguration and parade route.
I personally have anti-establishment slants, but I don't think that this is anything that I want to be a.
Use threats of violence. Right. The only people that over the
yes.
last so many years, almost a decade now, have been using violence in the streets and taking over city blocks and shooting people have been the left. So
I mean,
just wanted to point out that hypocrisy there.
And you remember the threats of violence of pigs in a blanket,
Yeah.
pigs in a blanket, and the calling for the murder of police officers. I mean, those are threats of violence too. I don't think the right's ever done that, but we're going to continue on with. We're going to continue.
Step 1 is threats of violence, right? So I wanted you to remember that context as we're going forward and what he considers threats of violence.
Power. Hitler and Mussolini relied on their vigilante militias to intimidate voters and local officials. We watched Trump try to.
Who did I just show you doing exactly that?
Yep.
Who did I just show you doing that?
So when it comes to, if we're going to look at history for a second and how, if we learn from history and in order for history not to repeat itself, we need to learn from it. If the military arm of the Democratic Party was the KKK, can we make the safe assertion that the Democratic military arm of the Democratic Party now is Antifa?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the anti-fascist because it sounds nice.
They're
Because
kind of like what?
anti-fascists.
What, the Bolsheviks, the brown shirts,
They are. See, this is what people don't understand about what Antifa is. Antifa literally comes from 1930s Germany. That's when it was founded because it was the communist arm that was fighting over control with the fascists in Germany. So if the Antifa and their like would have won, then Germany would have been a communist country just like Russia at the time, because that's what the Bolsheviks were doing. They were trying to take over Germany at the same time the fascists or the Nazis were trying to take over, right? You had two competing ideologies going head to head with each other. So it literally comes down from Antifa is a arm of the Communist Party, always has been historically, and continues to be so.
And the left uses them. And as many times as when we get on this show and we talk about when the left uses the term democracy, they don't mean the democracy that we're all thinking about. They mean communism. They can't come out and say
our power.
Yeah, they can't come out and say communism. So they're going to say democracy. And they're going to embed that in people's heads. And people are going to use that term democracy when you're technically living under communism. And we kind of have communism light now. We just don't see it as much.
Yeah, exactly.
Do the same in 2020.
Right,
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
Republican
Proud
election
Boys,
officials testified to the threats they faced when they refused Trump's demands to falsify the election results.
My email, my cell phone was doxxed.
They have had video panel trucks with videos of me proclaiming me to be a pedophile.
A 20-something tech in Gwinnett County today has death threats and a noose put out saying he should be hung for treason
If the election is close, threat.
I think I've seen all of those things that they were referring to from the left.
Yes.
With
I
people.
mean,
They do exactly the same thing. Projecting is so hard here.
Didn't the left have dummies of Donald Trump hanging with caught on, set on fire? Didn't the left?
Yeah, here I'll give you the most famous example.
Do music videos where they were shooting a clown that looked like Donald Trump with a gun?
Or
didn't
pigs.
the left do this that Coy is going to bring up? Because I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to bring up. Didn't the left do this?
Guys, wait, no, guys, hold on a second.
No threats of violence or anything. We don't do that.
We're lacking context with this one.
Oh,
context.
Right?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we're lacking context.
I mean, but that's pretty much in your face what they want.
Yeah. Or the fact that on 5/29 they forced the president into the bunker and set fire to St. John's Church and tried to firebomb the White House. That wasn't an insurrection. Or we won't talk about Chaz or Chop, which took over city blocks and destroyed a federal courthouse and then killed 2 teenage black kids. Because nobody wants to talk about those black lives.
We're not going to talk about that. We can't.
Yeah,
can't bring
I
up
like
that
how
violence.
they memory hold that so fast that the fact that in 2020 during the BLM riots, 2 black kids were probably killed by a white anti-fascist in the Chaz Chop that illegally occupied federal buildings with an assault rifle.
Right.
As well. Ooh. I mean, it's just like one of those perfect storm situations that they kind of just went, you know what, this is a little inconvenient, and they threw it in the trash.
Yeah, of course. That's what they do. Because all they do is change the narrative. The minute people start becoming more aware of what the left actually is capable of, they change the whole narrative. They come up with a big story about somebody on the right to take their eyes off whatever they were looking at. And here's the new shiny object over here. Then they talk about it. They talk about it. They rerun it, rerun it. And then most Americans' memory, they can only focus on one thing at one time. I mean, that's normal, but they start focusing on this big story, mainly about Trump, because they hate Trump so much and they forget about all the crap these other degenerates did.
Yep.
Look at all these degens. Yeah. Let's continue. Let's laugh.
To voters and election officials could be enough to sabotage it. Step number 2, consolidate power.
I wonder where Democrats are consolidating power.
Oh. Uh-huh.
It couldn't be the fact that they are doing a mass influx of illegal migrants, criminal aliens into the country, which bolsters congressional seats and electoral power.
That's right.
I don't think that, or the fact they think that voter ID is racist and asking on the census if you are a citizen is racist. So you can't ask that question because we don't need to know who actually is a citizen of the country in order to delegate delegates for actual representation. Because a non-citizen is not a citizen, even though they want to call these people now. They want to call I shit you not. This is what they want to call them. They want to call them undocumented citizens.
Oh yeah,
that's going to be the new term moving forward. By the way.
And the thing with the left, they didn't have all this, hyperbole. They didn't have all this insanity, whatever you want to call it. They would have nothing to run on. They know based off their policies, if they just ran on policy, that's it. None of this other crap that they got to throw at people about racism and equality, equity, and all this other stuff. If they didn't have that to run on, they would never win an election. Never.
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. It's totally factual.
But they have to create a bad guy and saying, we are your saviors. We're against racism. And this guy is a racist and we're going to stop him. And then most people who are emotional, who vote emotionally are going to vote in that direction. No matter, they don't understand the candidate himself. It's an emotional vote. They said he's racist. So I'm voting for the party that's against racism because I'm against racism.
Right. I got another video for you. So this is actually was tweeted by Elon Musk too, and this is the plan. Like, remember what we were talking about. Step number 2 is consolidate power. So here's part of the plan to consolidate the power.
The Democrat open borders plan to entrench single-party rule, explained in under 2 minutes. 1. Flood the country with untold millions of illegals by land, sea, and air from all over the world. enough to eclipse the populations of 36 individual U.S. states so far. 2. Prioritize the needs of these millions.
That's old numbers, by the way. He's using old data. It's actually far worse.
Millions of non-citizens over the needs of the American citizen, with free flights, buses, hotels, meals, and phones, ensuring their loyalty to the political party that imported them. 3. Keep them in the country at all costs, even when they commit violent crime like murder and rape. Attack the language used to describe the criminals, as opposed to...
That just happened.
Yeah.
The guy who killed Lake and Riley is still in the country under not even probation.
Yeah.
Thank you, Democrats.
Criminals themselves. Slander critics as racist. 4. Ensure their privileges are made irrevocable with city and state sanctuary laws that act as population magnets. Codify permanent status and ensure non-cooperation with ICE. 5. Count the non-citizens in the census that will determine congressional apportionment in the House of Representatives. As of now, that would equal 13 extra congressional districts, a tremendous amount of electoral power.
You have to understand what that means. We're talking 13 extra congressional seats. 13.
Yep.
That shifts majorities and minorities so damn much, especially right now. Like, they've barely been able to make razor thin margins between minority and majority rule in Congress in the last two elections, or even further than that in the last couple elections. So, getting 13 extra seats that are probably going to swing Democrat, or at least even if it's only half of them, is still a major boost to your majority hold.
Yep.
And that doesn't count the electoral college numbers that go up when more apportionment to congressional seats go up. So you don't need illegals to vote. We don't need criminal aliens to vote. We just need their bodies. We just need numbers. And that's what they're doing, is they're just creating numbers.
6. Wage a massive, heavily funded lawfare campaign to change state voting laws that legalize mass mail-in ballots, no signature verification, and no proof of citizenship requirements, making it nearly impossible to prove voter fraud. 7. Lock in the permanent voting majority with campaign promises of lavish benefits and permanent privileges, enshrining generational fealty to the Democrat Party. 8. Win elections. 9. Entrenched single-party rule has been achieved. The best part? Your tax dollars are paying for it.
That's the worst part about that, is knowing that your tax dollars are paying for it. All of it. All of these programs that they're giving to illegal aliens to entrench, as I said, their congressional power. So, all right, back to Robert Reich's video.
Continue this. Let's let it play out a little bit.
Okay.
And we'll talk about it afterwards.
So here you go. Step 2, congressional.
After taking office, a would-be fascist must turn every arm of government into a tool of the party. One of Hitler's first steps was to take over the civil service, purging it of non-Nazis. In October of 2020, Trump issued his own executive order that would have enabled him to fire tens of thousands of civil servants and replace them with MAGA loyalists. He never got to act on it, but he's now promising to apply it to the entire civil service.
We will pass critical reforms making every executive branch employee fireable.
That's become the centerpiece of something called Project 2025, a presidential agenda assembled by MAGA Republicans that would, as the AP puts it, dismantle the U.S. government and replace it with Trump's vision. Step 3. Establish a police state.
Okay,
so you could pause it right there. Talk about that.
Yeah, because like there was so much I wanted to say, and I'm like, oh, I gotta play the video, but I want to talk about it.
I saw it.
Dude, come on! Like they're talking about getting rid of the deep state. We're talking about people that have been there since Reagan's been in office.
Yep.
Since Reagan, like the actual people that are running the show behind the scenes. He's talking about eliminating the deep entrenchment of bureaucrats. That's what it is. Because any organization that has so many bureaucrats that are not representative of the people and take power, they need to be fired. They need to be taken out.
You are exactly right.
And the whole idea of the weaponization of certain governmental structures. Like, didn't they weaponize the Department of Justice?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that's what they're doing right now. We should watch the police state thing, and we can talk about it.
And
listen,
and you understand, and it's known that people like the left, they blame their opposition for exactly what they're doing. So they'll say they're doing it. Wow. Yeah, it's projection. All of it's projection. They're doing exactly what they're blaming or accusing Donald Trump of doing. Everything that is being said so far, the left is done or is doing currently.
Right. And they say that that's what Donald Trump is going to do, not that he is doing it. You notice that kind of saying? It's like, we can show you everything the left is doing right now. They are doing right now at this moment. They're saying, well, he might do it. This might be something Donald Trump might do, instead of like, he is doing it, but he's not.
Hitler used the imaginary threat of the poison of foreign races to justify taking control of the military and police, placing both under his top general and granting law enforcement powers to his civilian militias. Now Trump is using the same language.
It's poisoning the blood of our country.
Trump plans to deploy troops within the U.S. to conduct immigration raids and round up what he estimates to be 18 million people.
Good.
See, I knew they were going to do that, but here's the thing. Guess where the National Guard is deployed right now? And I don't mean the border. I don't mean the border. Somewhere else right
Oklahoma?
now. Where are they deployed? No.
Texas?
Where?
New York City, in the subways.
Oh.
So they're using the National Guard to police the New York subways because of the stupid policies they implemented. But all right, let's continue.
Who would be placed in mass detention camps while their fate is decided. And
Which
even
they
though
built.
crime is actually down across the nation, Trump is citing
I want you to remember that violent crime is down. Then why are you deploying National Guard in New York City to help with crime? I just want to point out that just a little bit of inconvenient fact there.
an imaginary crime wave to justify sending
It's imaginary,
troops
even though the National
into
Guard got
blue
deployed.
cities and states against the will of governors and mayors.
You're supposed to not be involved in that. You just have to be asked by the governor or the mayor to come in.
Even though during 2020, people kept calling for him to deploy the National Guard, and he didn't.
That's right.
The next time, I'm not waiting.
Trump insiders say he plans to invoke the Insurrection Act to have the military crush,
Which he did not
civilian
when he could have.
protests. We saw a glimpse of that in 2020 when Trump deployed the National Guard against peaceful protesters outside the White House.
I want to remind you that was not a peaceful protest. They almost burned down St. John's Church and forced the president into the bunker after they were trying to breach the White House. No, it was not a peaceful protest.
Yeah.
And with promises to pardon.
And again, there are people out there, like I said earlier, that are very uninformed who will watch this and take everything this delusional idiot is saying as truth. And it's not truth.
Yeah.
They won't do their own research. They won't go and try to figure it out for themselves. They won't dissect it. They're just going to take it for face value. He said it. I trust him. He's an expert, and I believe him, everything he said. And this is the problem we have in our country.
Robert Reich, he leads a bunch of campaigns on the left side.
January 6 criminals and stop prosecutions of right-wing domestic terrorists. Trump would empower groups like the Proud Boys to act as MAGA enforcers.
Never said that.
And it's never happened, but we've seen Antifa do that exact thing that he's talking about for the Democrats.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't even acknowledge Antifa. You remember when they were talking about Antifa's not a group? They're not nothing.
Antifa's not real. It's not. It's just an ideology. It's not a real
Antifa's
thing.
an ideology. Yeah. Proud Boys are an ideology too.
Yeah. It was started as a joke too, which is the funniest thing about the whole thing.
Jail the opposition.
I wonder where they're doing that. I wonder where they're jailing the opposition and going after reporters and putting them in jail for just reporting on January 6th.
Yes.
I couldn't see that. Or the fact that they brought up a bunch of charges that are bunk
of course.
To stop Donald Trump from running because, we can't have him run and win because he's going to dismantle our power.
Yeah, we're just going to
our democracy, as they say.
We're just going to disrupt this campaign, but what these idiots don't know is that no matter what they do, no matter what they say, we can see right through them. It doesn't mean we're not going to vote for them. It's not going to stop anything. So let the man run, see if you can win fair and square. The only reason they're doing all this is because they know they're not going to win. They know it. They all know it.
Look at what's happening to him right now in New York. They're about to take all of his buildings.
Yeah, that's still not.
They're gonna seize all of his buildings, even though nobody agrees that he committed a crime or even committed fraud, because he did what every person who sells a house does: is they say, "Hey, I think it's worth this much." The bank goes, "Hey, I don't think it's worth this much. Okay, let's negotiate." And then they made a deal, and then he paid it back with interest. That's how it works. But apparently now that's against the law. That's fraud. You can't do that.
Pay attention.
And yet the AG said, "No, don't worry about real estate investors in New York City. We're not going to do this to you."
Yeah, and that's why
the governor said that. It's like this is the same. This is the same.
Yeah, and real estate investors are going to be leaving New York.
Yeah, look, when they go to take Mar-a-Lago, it's going to be funny because people are going to be like, "You can't say that Mar-a-Lago is worth what, $10 million or $20 million, because my house is worth 30 and it's smaller than his. If you take it and say it's this, you affect every real estate. And not only that, you're allowing another state to infringe on the properties of another state. So have fun with that one in the Supreme Court.
Trump is now openly threatening to prosecute his opponents.
If I happen to be president and I see somebody who's doing well and beating me very badly, I say, go down and indict them. They'd be out of the election.
And he's looking to remake the Justice Department into a tool for his personal vendettas.
As we completely overhaul the Federal Department of Justice and FBI, we will also launch sweeping civil rights investigations into Marxist local district attorneys.
In the model of Hitler and Mussolini.
Because they are being politicized and bringing political charges. Yeah, like look at Fannie Willis. Who is corrupt, and we've seen it, and they're still letting her be on the case. It's stupid.
Yeah.
Trump describes his opponents as subhuman.
The radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country.
Step number 5.
And he's talking about illegals, criminal migrants that come in and then have been causing issues. We had a bunch of military-aged males in New York beat cops openly and let out the exact same day.
Right.
So I'm sorry. Yeah, they're thugs.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this guy literally just equated himself to exactly what it is that Trump, labeled him subhuman. Because
they're subhuman.
I mean, if he's reacting this way and he's all butthurt about what Trump said about the left, because he said far left extremists are the ones doing this, and this guy is saying that Trump is the one calling these people subhuman, then put two and two together, guys.
Well, like I said, this is the ideology this is the reason why the bloodbath thing has become such an issue.
Right.
Undermine the free press. As Hitler
I wonder how you undermine the free press if you won't let people speak how they think and cancel them or arrest them for reporting on January 6th. I don't know.
Or, coercing social media platforms to silence the voices of conservatives.
Ooh,
which they were caught doing multiple times over the years. They wouldn't. Or the best one is Ketanji Brown Jackson not understanding how the First Amendment works is to protect citizen speech and not government speech.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's a justice.
And she's a Supreme Court justice.
Let that sink in.
That's scary.
And even they say themselves, the First Amendment is not absolute. Remember when they said that Second Amendment was not absolute? Now it's the First Amendment. We told you once they started coming after the Second, they were going to come after the First. It was only a matter of time.
Yep.
Right?
And they'll come after them all.
They say no amendment is absolute, but that's the problem. The founders meant for these amendments to be absolute. The reason they worded them the way they were is supposed to be absolute. Shall not be infringed means absolute. Like, I don't know how else to explain that wording other than absolute.
I mean, it's not absolute for us. It's absolute for them, though.
Yeah, it's absolute for them.
It's absolute for them. They can have as many guns as they want around them. All their security carrying guns, everybody carrying guns. They can say what they want to the world and lie about it. Then when caught in a lie, they can come up and apologize, and there's no repercussions because the amount of influence they have with a lie. But they can say what they want. If some little peon said that, they'd be knocking on his door, ready to.
Here's another one. How about cruel and unusual punishment? Do you think that one's not absolute? Should we just be dangling people off of bridges now?
Yeah. Only if they're
or
white.
should we bury them up to their neck and pour honey on them and let the fucking ants eat their head? No,
of
course
the way
not.
The left thinks if it's a white guy, it's fine.
It's just so stupid to me because the amendments are supposed to be absolute. They're written that way to be absolute. At least in the Bill of Rights, they were supposed to be that way. Anything after what was originally founded can be up to question, because especially the Prohibition Bill, which was actually awful for the country and caused the majority of the criminal elements we have in this country today.
Yes, indeed.
Well understood. A fascist needs to control the flow of information. Trump has been attacking the press for
Wonder
years.
who does that.
They are truly the enemy of the people.
And he's threatening to punish news outlets
Good.
whose coverage he dislikes. He
Propaganda,
has helped
punish
to
'em.
reduce trust in
They
the
do
media
that already.
to such a historic low that his supporters now view him as their most trusted source of information. Within a democracy, we may often have leaders we don't like, but we have the power to change them at the ballot box. And
As long as we change the rules and make sure that our guy wins.
Yes, as long as it's not the guy that you want.
once fascism takes hold, those freedoms are gone and cannot easily be won back. We must recognize the threat of fascism when it appears.
And here I agree with him, because we should be really looking at the real fascists.
And do everything in our power to stop it.
Everything in our power. Oh, are you calling for violence, Robert Reich?
Yes.
We should do everything in our power to stop the fascists.
What did he mean? Was he saying like bloodbath without saying bloodbath?
Yeah,
Is that
exactly.
what he's saying? Go bash them over their head, get in their face, make them uncomfortable. When they go low, or what do you say?
We go lower.
When they go low, we kick them.
Yeah, we kick.
Okay,
them,
so now that we've got context of what people are trying to put out there, I want to bring up the actual clip that got them so up in arms in the first place.
Over a period of 30 years, 34% of the automobile manufacturing business in our country, think of it, went to Mexico. China now is building a couple of massive plants where they're going to build the cars in Mexico and they think that they're going to sell those cars into the United States with no tax at the border. Let me tell you something to China. If you're listening, President Xi, and you and I are friends, but he understands the way I deal, those big monster car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. Now, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars. If I get elected, now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath for the whole. That's going to be the least of it. It's going to be a bloodbath for the country. That'll be the least of it.
Pause it. And this is where they stop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, they only show you about that 15-second clip right there, but they leave out the fact that he's talking about China, right? So the leading adversary of the United States, which everybody's all up in arms on with TikTok, we got to ban TikTok because China's stealing our data, right? He's talking about the car plants they plan on putting in Mexico to sell to Americans and not expect any trade deficit with us, right? Just allowing these cheap cars from Mexico to be sold into the United States without any tariffs.
Hey,
that's
Coy,
what he's talking about.
Hey, Coy, can you repeat that just for the people in the back?
China is planning to build cars in Mexico to sell them to the United States, right? Is an economical issue, is what he's talking about, right? So when he says bloodbath, he's talking about financial institutions taking a hit because China is influxing a bunch of cheap made in Mexico by Chinese companies into the United States.
That is correct. And bloodbath can be used in many forms, and financial. Using it in a financial way is a way they use bloodbath. When they use it for the market, they use it for economic collapse. They use that word. Let's continue, and then we're gonna hit them with the left hypocrisy.
But that's what it was. Like that's the whole clip. We know that he wasn't talking about whatever Joe Scarborough had to say and Robert Reich. He's like, oh, this is what he's doing. He's going to take over the country. He's going to do this. No, he's not. He's talking about dealing with an adversary of the United States, which you guys are all up in arms with the TikTok bill, right? But you're not talking about them wanting to build they're buying tons of farmland in the United States. Now they're going to build car manufacturers in Mexico to sell to the United States because they know the biggest trade partner we have is Mexico. So they're buying up buildings, they're buying up real estate, they're buying up farmland. Now they're going to destroy the auto manufacturers in the United States that are left. Right? Yes, I would call that a financial bloodbath if you continue to allow China to encroach on our economy as they are doing.
That's right.
So yeah, he's right. He's absolutely right, but they won't use that context.
Do you bring up the clip from the left saying bloodbath in that context?
Yep, that's exactly what I'm doing. That was the next thing I was doing.
Read
each other's mind. We've been working together.
Exactly. Here you go. So let's enjoy this montage.
But as Politico.com reports tonight on the, quote, bloodbath at the RNC,
Headlines calling it a, quote, bloodbath. Be a bloodbath. Not only is it going to be a bloodbath, but after they leave New Hampshire, it's a bloodbath on her home turf. That's really tough. Trump has left a lot of corpses in his wake. I mean, we can count the bodies as part of the, quote, MAGA drive to take over Maricopa County. And the headline refers to it as an impending bloodbath. Columnist Charles Blow has a new piece for the New York Times entitled A Biden Bloodbath.
2018 midterms, you can bet that they 100% are fearing a slaughter. In fact, the word bloodbath and massacre come up frequently.
The Republican Party will be destroyed. It's going to be a bloodbath.
There's going to be a bloodbath one way or the other.
Bloodbath for Bernie Sanders.
It's been a bloodbath there, shaping up to be a bloodbath.
Head off a bloodbath in next year's crucial midterm.
Off-year elections are often a bloodbath.
This week's bloodbath for Democrats, a bloodbath at the ballot box.
There could be a Republican bloodbath.
They'll talk about a bloodbath.
It's a bloodbath. I have to talk about you.
It's going to be a bloodbath all day long. Is in for a bloodbath.
Hasn't been a bloodbath on the way down. Donald Trump bloodbath. Be a bloodbath.
Predicted to be a bloodbath.
May not be the bloodbath.
It would be a bloodbath.
It's more of a bloodbath.
It's going to be a bloodbath in November.
Possible Biden bloodbath this November.
A bloodbath on Wall Street.
There's going to be a bloodbath
in Alabama into a bloodbath.
Obviously, there was a bloodbath. It was a bloodbath. We're down 800 points.
This bloodbath at Department of Homeland Security.
and it's a bloodbath today.
There was going to be this bloodbath.
Election bloodbath.
It could be a bloodbath for them.
Bloodbath, possibly.
Bloodbath that went through with the Attorney General.
Bloodbath 99 days out.
The bloodbath is going to look like
Presided over a bloodbath in the diplomatic corps.
Absolute, in my opinion, bloodbath. The Democrats are calling it a ticket sales turned into a bloodbath. Ticket sales for singer Taylor Swift's latest tour.
It's safe to say the fans had a bloodbath for the company.
It was a bloodbath, sir. A bloodbath.
Now, with them using bloodbath, should we all take it out of context?
I'd like to.
Yeah, I mean, we're taking it for what they said.
Yeah.
I mean, when they were talking about November and Donald Trump, the election for Donald Trump, what do they mean by bloodbath? What are you guys talking about? They'll get up to say, no, we didn't mean it like that. But
we didn't mean it like that.
When Trump says it, you take it fully out of context as exactly you mean violence. But when you guys say it about Trump and Biden and, everything else, it doesn't mean that. It means exactly what you guys are saying. This is the hypocrisy of the left. This is what we always talk about on this show. They are hypocrites. They project. 99% of them are narcissists, and they gaslight the American people. Every time you watch them, just know that you're being gaslit.
You're being lied to, yeah. So I got a Babylon Bee article that I thought was funny and perfectly fits this. Is the 9 times Trump clearly called for bloodshed. let me zoom this in for you.
Zoom it in.
When he told an actor to break a leg, wishing physical pain and suffering on an innocent Hollywood entertainer is no laughing matter. When he said to the chocolate cake at Mar-a-Lago was to die for, calling for his fanatical followers to die for his cause, of course. When he said he was going to crush the competition, literally announcing his plans to kill his competitors.
Oh my God.
When he said he was about to blow up the bathroom, an obvious bomb threat. When he told Kevin McAllister in Home Alone 2 that the lobby was down the hall and to the left, clearly code for genocide against political left. When he said the New York Jets were getting slaughtered, he obviously planned to murder the entire team. When he said "Make America Great Again," this phrase harkens back to the time when there was a great bloodshed, like the Civil War. That's
and Babylon B's got to be very,
man.
very careful, because I'm telling you, there's some freaking mental midgets out there that are actually reading this and not knowing that
They might actually believe it.
they're not knowing that it's a satire page, and they're gonna be like, "Oh my God, Donald Trump said all this," you know.
The Babylon Bee said so.
Yeah, the Babylon Bee said it, and people are gonna look at him like you're stupid. Do you know what the Babylon Bee is? But I wouldn't put it past him, though, him saying those things.
It's funny.
Oh my God!
Here's the last two. So when Melania when he told Melania she looked drop dead gorgeous, pray for the poor woman's safety. On January 6th, when he said, you have to go home now. We have to have peace. We have to have law and order. There's never been a more dangerous and violent statement made in American history. So, because NPCs can't understand hypotheticals, they can't understand hyperbole, right? They can't understand if statements, right?
Yeah.
So if X thing happens, then Y, they're like, but Y didn't happen. That's how they think. Right. So like hyperbole and figure of speech just right over the head.
Yeah, and the thing with the left, man, they've been saying this. They said this about him running the first time. He was going to start a war. He's going to become, the guy with the mustache, the guy we're talking about. He's going to he's going to take over. He's going to lock up all the immigrants. He's going to send black people back to Africa. He was going to do all this stuff, but he never did it. Yeah. He never did any of that. Now here they are again, back on loop, saying the same stuff, and they know he's not going to do it. This is just to cause a panic with the uninformed, and it works.
But here's the thing: is like it's actually getting people that are his detractors to go, okay, come on, guys, like really.
The Trump bloodbath situation. Why?
Well, first of all, I thought that he was talking about the United States and China and the auto industry, and I thought that they used it as an opportunity to expose and exploit the kind of things that they wanted to about Donald Trump. Fair enough. The problem is that he's kicking their tail. That's really what this comes down to. According to the polls, he's up, he's gaining momentum, and when you use these kind of tactics and it comes with a question mark. It comes with some trepidation. I don't think that's something that has shown itself to work against Trump over the last few months or so. I mean, the guy's got 4 indictments, 91 counts against him. He's been impeached twice. He just lost a civil case where he was ordered to pay in excess of $400 million. And he keeps gaining campaign dollars. He keeps gaining momentum. And somehow, some way, they keep using the same old tactics. That was really my point. It's not working. It's not being effective. He's literally kicking their butts, and they've got to get their act together and find a different strategy, because the fear mongering over the kind of things that may come out of his mouth is not the kind of tactics that have proven to work against this man, at least as of late. That's why I said what I said.
How Fredo Cuomo has fallen. He went from top-notch CNN reporter to, what is it, News Nation?
Yeah, I don't know.
He did go to News Nation, but he recently was hired by Valuetainment with Patrick Bet-David.
Oh, interesting.
So I think he's on his redemption arc, is what he's trying to do.
Yeah, Chris Cuomo. The one thing I remember about Chris Cuomo is when he got approached by some dude and he acted like a tough guy. Remember that?
Yeah.
The guy had him on camera, and Chris Cuomo acted like he could fight. And I was like, dude, you're getting mollywopped up in here, man. Nobody's worried about your roid rage. Go sit down.
Good old Fredo.
He had some issues. I've listened to a couple of his interviews recently, and he's definitely trying to do the redemption arc. So we'll see how that goes. He's coming more around on this side of the aisle, so we'll see how it goes. But here's Joe Rogan about it.
I'm sure you're aware of this recent Donald Trump speech where he talked about a bloodbath.
Oh God, yeah.
And what the actual phrase was. See if you can find that, Jamie, because it's actually important to highlight how not just inaccurate, but it's just deceptive the media was in their depiction of what he said, and that they are taking this quote out of context and trying to say that there's going to be a civil war if he doesn't get elected, which is not what he was talking about at all. See, pull it up. because it's so disturbing that they would, first of all, that they would think that they could get away with it in this day and age with all the scrutiny and all the with social media and all the independent journalists that exist now, which is one of the more interesting things about the demise of corporate media, the demise in trust. Trust in corporate media is at an all-time low, and so this has led to a rise in true independent journalists, the real ones out there, the Matt Taibbi's, the Glenn Greenwalds, the people that are actually just trying to say what is really going on and what are the influences behind these things and why are these things happening.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yep. How about sums it up right there?
And the biggest reason it's happening is because, propaganda is allowed now because media is not held accountable. And I agree with, Trump wanting to hold the media accountable because the amount of influence they have on the populace, they should not be allowed to go out there and spread lies and propaganda because you can get people fired up. A lot of things, you can cause a lot of problems when you get out there and talk about propaganda. It's like if the media got up there and said, tomorrow they're going to have a rally in DC and all these guys are going to be bringing guns. And they just said it. No proof behind it. You know what the hysteria, that's like saying fire in a room, in a movie theater. That's against the law. Yep. So why isn't it against the law for the media to put out falsehoods and propaganda to get the American people confused and fired up? I don't know.
It was until Obama repealed it.
That's right.
It was illegal to propagandize the American people up until a certain point, and that was during Obama's term, and then he got rid of that because, it's useful. It's useful for the Democratic establishment. I shouldn't say Democratic establishment. I should say establishment in general, the deep state or the bureaucrats, the bureaucratic state, these people that are in the three-letter agencies who really control the U.S. government. Because if you think the congressional members control government, you're stupid. If you think if every 4 years another guy, or even 8 years, one man comes into the executive office is going to be able to do anything about these people that have been running the show for 30 years, you're wrong. He has the power to get rid of these people, but if he tries to, the opposition party will say he's trying to eliminate his political opponents. Right? That's what they say. Even though this place, everybody knows this place needs to be cleaned out, and nobody's willing to do it.
Yeah.
And what kills me about the left and the right, we both are guilty of it. The left more than anything is we talk about term limits. We talk about these dinosaurs that stay in office for 30, 40, 50 years. These boomers, they're just in there riding it out until they retire, till they die off or whatever. And then
until they die, honestly.
Yeah, and then we always talk about how we want change. We're tired of the same old policies. We're tired of the same old promises. It's because you got a bunch of freaking dinosaurs from the freaking 1700s in there that voted with an ink and feather that are trying to freaking relate to us here in 2024. And then when election time comes around, instead of looking at the guy and saying, this guy's 80 years old, we have nothing in common. Absolutely nothing in common. I can't relate to this guy. You vote him back in because he shares the same party as you or because you're used to him. It's called Stockholm Syndrome. Get rid of all of them. All of them. I don't care. Left, right, get rid of the whole, because they're all corrupt. Just about. I'm not going to say all, but all these old heads that have been sitting in power for all this time, they're all corrupt. They all need to go. Vote them all out and start over from scratch, and we'll build from there.
If you've been in since Reagan, you need to leave.
Yeah, I mean, if you've been in,
like honestly, you need to leave. If you've been in since first Bush, you need to leave.
Oh,
there's some been in since Jim Crow, man.
I know, right? And so here's the thing: it's like these people, they consider their appointments lifetime appointments. They are not. Congressional and Senate seats are not lifetime appointments. Dianne Feinstein was not supposed to be a lifetime appointment. That is the thing that upsets me the most. Is this woman literally couldn't do her job, and she died in office.
That's right.
It's not a lifetime appointment. Even the justices are the only thing in the United States that are lifetime appointments. The only one. Yeah. Right. And even that is contentious. Most people would say we should get rid of that. I don't know. But the Congress and the Senate are not lifetime appointments, and neither is the presidency is not a lifetime appointment.
That's right.
You do your time, you do your couple of terms, and you leave. That's the way it's supposed to go. So we have new blood every so often to fill the seats. And that's how it's supposed to be.
And I truly believe, you can't run for president or vice president until you're 35. So if you can't run till you're 35, they have an age requirement. There should be an age cutoff. If most Americans are required to retire, not all, most Americans are required to retire or do retire at the age of 65 in order to get their.
I think it's 67 now,
or 67. It's somewhere in there. They should fall under the same thing because I think there's a little rule written in the Constitution. Congress shall pass no laws. What is it? They shall pass no laws if they're not required to follow that same law. So if American people, there's usually a cutoff of age when it comes to driving and, working and everything. It should be the same thing for Congress, because Dianne Feinstein, like you said earlier, Dianne Feinstein was getting rolled out. She couldn't even vote properly. She had to look at somebody and they pretty much voted for her, but they were sitting here applauding her. Look at that Supreme
She didn't even know
Court
she was gone. That was the worst thing about it.
Ruth Bader. I believe that even the Supreme Court, there should be a cutoff. You should take a cognitive test. And if you can't recite the Constitution of the United States as a Supreme Court justice, you need to kick rocks, because that is your job to uphold the Constitution. And if you can't even recite the full Constitution and you're a Supreme Court justice, the highest court in America, you don't need to be there anymore. And Ruth Bader, at the time she passed away, she didn't even know her ABCs. But yet here they are, they're rolling her out like she's so important. No, they need to go, man. We need a reset. I'm getting sick and tired of seeing these same Chuck Schumers, these Mitch McConnells, all these older than dirt politicians who are trying to tell the American people how to live their life, and they're still living in the 1800s. Get out of here.
Well, they like power.
Kick rocks.
Yeah, that's what it is.
They don't want to let go of it. It all comes into power. These people don't want to let go. Like, we have an entire generation of millennials that are in their sort of, not their golden age, but like just right after the golden age. They're in that perfect time where they should be in charge, but they're not, because the boomers won't let go of power or just die. One of the two of them. They just won't go home.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave. So they're just going to sit there until they die. That's it.
And you got Gen Xers. Between the Gen Xers and the elder millennials, man,
Gen X should be running more things.
Yep, they should be running the show right now. I mean, you look at regular society. When I worked for the sheriff's department, people used to retire. They'd retire. Hey, see you later. Have a good life. Guess where they hung out at still? At the sheriff's department. You're retired. Why are you here?
You're still there.
Yeah, they're still here, and that's the whole problem.
All their pension's gone.
Yeah. These people have been around this environment for so long. As Coy said, they cannot let it go. They can't. They need to be forced to let it go. And I agree with Donald Trump when he says we're going to clean the swamp, and the swamp is being cleaned, because you see 60-something of them aren't even running for re-election, and more of them need to go. There needs to be a cutoff. There needs to be a vote saying at this age, you need to be cut off. That means you cannot run anymore after the age of 65, the nationals, or 67, the national retirement age.
Yeah.
Boomers, retire. Enjoy your retirement.
Unless you're Nikki Haley and she wants to extend it to 75.
Yeah. Give us Gen Xers and us elder millennials the reins. We got you. Go retire.
Nobody wants to work until they die. Nobody. Right. But I mean, congressional seats and Senate seats, they just treat it like it's a aftercare center. They're not really working. They're there to make money.
And their age are telling them what to do, man. Now, look, look at guys like Mitch McConnell. He stood up there one day. He was like, and somebody had to come up and shake him a little bit.
At least he finally gave up his Senate minority minority
leadership.
Yeah,
it took forever. They need to give it up. And even though there's a lot of Gen Xers or, Gen Xers that are on the left, hey, let them have it. And then the right needs to start pushing our Gen Xers up there too. And we have a lot of them. Push them to the forefront. You old freaking sandbags need to go and sit down in the back and let the new breed come up, because the new breed has a true understanding about this new generation, these new generations between the elder millennials and the Gen Xers. We understand this generation. You boomers don't really understand. Go sit down, retire, have fun, drink a Mai Tai somewhere.
Go home.
Go home.
Go home. Just go home, man. Go home.
Just go home.
Even Washington knew when it was time. He didn't even want to do it in the first place, and he said, "You know what? I'm going back to my farm, man. Deuces."
That's right.
That's how you
Enjoy
should
your
be.
retirement. You guys get paid for the rest of your day, you know, or the rest of your life. You get paid. Go enjoy that. A lot of Americans aren't making what you make. And a lot of Americans work 30, 40 years and only making, you know, a couple $20,000. You guys can work for 3 or 4 and get paid whatever your pension is. A lot more money than what we get. Go home, man. We're tired of you guys. And American people, stop voting for these people. I don't care if they're your favorite politician. I don't care if you like them. We need new blood in those seats. Period.
Yep.
And we'll ride it out. We'll as the punches come, we'll take the punches. And if the new breed is messing up, guess what? We don't vote them in. They need to go too. Until we get people in there that actually care about the American people and not the lobbyists that put money in their pocket, not the cabal, not the deep state, not all these people in these dark rooms that are making decisions. We need people that are against them. And this is why they hate Donald Trump so much, because he doesn't want their money. He doesn't listen to them. And people have to understand that.
Yep.
I'm just saying. That was me. That was
No. I succinctly said. I think that's the it.
Yeah. That's
and if they don't get elected, there's going to be a bloodbath.
It's
context, folks.
Right. It'll be a bloodbath. Take it wherever you want to take it.
I can't stand those people, honestly.
Yeah. So, hey, thank you guys all for joining. Marlon should be back next week. So Friday, we got to discuss a topic. I don't even know what's trending, but we'll come up with something. Something will happen. Something big. Something huge.
Yep.
Something huge. Trump 2024. That's it, man. Thank you guys for joining. Sorry about the time mishap. It was something on my side with my computer and the time zone. So thank you guys for coming back. And Jay, take us out.
So like, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you Friday. Peace out.
Friday. Love.